It's a dome. Isn't this so great? I got a full tutorial coming soon on exactly how we made it, but this is with Magidone connectors. So kind of like we use our maker pipe connections for EMT conduit to make the dome, there's Magidone connectors that you can make your own dome. Now, we'll get into all the details in the DIY video, but long story short, I really wanted to make a greenhouse for this winter, but I don't think it's going to happen in time because the freezing temperatures are imminent, and obviously we are not exactly heating it right now. So we'll figure out something, but if nothing else, we're going to have a really cool structure to use for supports in future growing seasons. Wally's doing okay. He's getting some sun. He was sick the other day and he's kind of starting to feel better. Yeah, I think he just got a little puppy flu, and I'm not sure if it's related or not, but part of the reason we are a little behind on getting our update is actually because of Moose. Hey Moose, you gotta tell everybody what happened to you. So we're almost at I think we're almost at the 2-week marker. I'm not really sure exactly, but about a week or two ago, Moose woke us up at 5 something in the morning and puked out a big, what I can only describe to you guys as like a tamale size wad of grass. So not shocking, the lab is strong in him. He eats a lot of things, right? So little buddy pukes it up, has a little bit more come up a second or two later, and my husband went to go get some paper towels to clean it up, and Moose was like, oh, I gotta come on the bed and get snuggled with Mom and Wally because I don't feel good and I'm a big baby. Well, before he could even jump up, he was on the edge of the bed, and believe it or not, this big guy coming in almost at 100 pounds here had a seizure. And obviously very scary because he's only 3, just barely, and for a puppy to be having a seizure at any point, that's scary, but definitely somebody so young. Obviously he's fine now, he's back to foraging like you do as a moose, but it was definitely a long night. We ended up taking him to the ER and getting him checked out. Wally came to the ER too because he's the emotional support dog for everybody, and mostly he just really can't be left alone without everybody. So we went to the ER, they did the blood work and everything, and Moose is okay. We don't know if it's because a lot of the neighborhood parks and fields that we have are heavily treated with pesticides, fungicides, all the things. So did he eat just a bunch of grass that had toxins in it, and that was just his body purging them? Or was it some other thing? I don't know, but it sounds like we won't know till we know, until it may never happen again, or it may happen again next week. We really don't know. So keep an eye on him. He's been back to his normal routine. Obviously, he's out here in the yard making use of all of the sticks and leaves that are falling. We had a big down branch that came down recently, and he seems okay. He's obviously a little so extra sensitive. It seems like he needs a little extra love, but honestly, it's so traumatic, and I'm sure he doesn't understand what happened. He seized for about a whole minute, which was scary, obviously, but he's doing okay now. Right, Wally? Okay, thanks, buddy. I think Wally just has a little bit of a puppy flu, but I'm not really sure. So anyways, that's part of the reason we're a little behind on our updates for you guys, but let's get into the actual garden tour updates. We've already had some below, well, just barely freezing temperatures, so our tomatoes are obviously dying. These made some beautiful slicers that were beautiful, but some birds got to them before I did. So at this point, it's already yellowing. There's a few that might make it, but I seriously doubt with us getting into the 20s, the low 20s no less, we're going to do anything. And interestingly enough, this tomato that we started from seed finally started to grow, and I can't do anything with this at this point, so I'll probably chop it up and throw it in the yard. But I think out here, we're at the top of the yard right now, as opposed to down here, these plants, even though this one started way later for whatever reason, got exponentially bigger. Look how tall they are. Look how tall this is. This is already almost hitting the top. I don't know if you guys can tell. The ones down here we're barely past the halfway marker on that tomato plant. And the other one ended up dying on this planter. Or actually, that's not true. One died, I restarted a seed, and it's only like tiny. So is there too much sun down there and the afternoon shade up here is better? I don't know, but we definitely need to consider that next season when we're regrowing, because obviously I put my maker pipe trellis up for a tomato tree like we had in Florida, and we didn't really need it because nothing grew even remotely close. But on the upside, you can tell the tumblers are getting some sun, which they definitely need, because oh man, getting them rocking and rolling and up to a high temperature has been a challenge out here. But I have a whole other video we're going to talk about the compost stuff on. This is definitely a different angle than we're used to seeing, because well, we have our dome here now, and that's super cool. The strawberries are probably the only thing that did well this year in these containers, other than of course some nice zinnias. So we even have some little berries coming in, and you guys saw that we had strawberries in our GreenStalk containers in Florida, actually a couple of tiers worth, and I don't think the strawberries that we got in Florida were ever as good or sweet or delicious as these were. And I don't know if it's because, like, this is berry basket weight according to this tag. You know, is that because we couldn't grow those varieties and we just didn't get them in Florida? I don't know, but we are definitely gonna expand on the strawberries next year, absolutely. We do have a random lone squash trying its best over here. I really don't think it's going to make it, but it started, and I was like, well, you got a chance, I guess. We had big, beautiful sunflowers up here. They fell over eventually, but they were beautiful, and I figured, you know, they'll help the soil out a little bit. But we're going to have to really rethink about what we're going to put in these next year, because the sun, I mean, you can tell it's just bleaching everything out, so food for thought for next year. Now, we already went over the roses. Pearlescent died in the hailstorm. This one here, actually, let me get from this angle. Look at this. This is our sweet spirit. I hope it survives the winter. I really do. It's not my favorite for cut roses because they're very delicate, and they tend to drop their petals pretty quickly. I don't know if that's just the flower or the environment, I really don't know, but it's doing well. Delish didn't do a ton for us over here. This one, Enchanted Peace, had a few blooms. Love it because it changed colors a lot. Has a ton of new growth coming in, unfortunately, right now, but I'm curious to see that established. Got raspberries. I just moved them out of the way. We're gonna figure out how to overwinter those. But the rose that's doing the best is this one. This one, let me make sure I get the right one. Sunbeam Veranda. They start out this beautiful, bright, rich yellow, and then they fade out. You can kind of tell how they fade. It kind of gets that like creamy yellow, and then it goes more to like an off-white there. But very, very pretty. And I mean, if this is how many blooms a smaller plant can do, I really want to make sure we can get it to a healthier, larger bloomed, blooming shrub, because I mean, that's just going to be a fountain of color. Now, this area here, where we thought we were going to have all the best tomatoes and all of the best produce, honestly, I mean, you could tell everything is just bleached to death. And these tomatoes were put in the same time. Actually, they were put in earlier than the one up there we were talking about, the big one, because that was just a cutting from one of these others that broke off. So these have been in all season. This is as big as this one got. These two got. There's two here, believe it or not. I think if you can tell, there's two tomatoes that were started as seedlings, no less, like not even seeds. And then this is a little scraggly one over here I was talking about. I think the sun is just too much, and we're gonna have to work on shade cloth, ironically, next year. Who would have thunk? We moved from Florida, didn't use shade cloth there, moved out to Colorado, and we need shade cloth, but we are closer to the sun, I guess. But not expecting that this year. Our fruit trees are doing well. I'm expecting them to drop their leaves here soon. They have been really vigorously drinking a lot of water, so I'm hoping they're putting down some good roots in there to keep them overwintered well. I've reached out to the people that I got. I bought these at Lowe's or Home Depot, but I reached out to the nursery that they had their tags from, so we're going back and forth about some options on how to overwinter them out here. What are you doing, silly? Wally's been using this as a hangout. You can come in here, buddy. It's okay. Yeah, he's so brave. What are you doing? Yeah, he's been liking hanging out in here. He seems to think we made this just for him. It's a little spot to lay down. I'd love to put some like lights in here, some nice string lights or something, and I don't know. If we can't cover it, at least we can decorate it in something this winter to make it a little bit more fun, but we'll come back to that soon. Hi, Wally. I didn't pet you. Oh, sorry. Are you part of the igloo now? I'm trying to tell people about our butterflies, or lack of butterflies, buddy. All right, well, while I'm petting Wally. So in Florida, I felt like before we even really started with our butterflies, there was always monarchs and stuff around, or the sulfurs, or whatever. You would see the swallowtails when the right season was around. But out here, I mean, I think I saw like 2, maybe 3 monarchs out on their own. That was it. I saw one big giant swallowtail, and everything else I saw were moths. I saw the big oversized, like, what are they, like, some people call them the hummingbird moth, some of them call them the sphinx moth, but like really, really big size moths. Those, I believe, are probably the main pollinators out here. Like, we have some bees, not a ton. I saw more like wasp hornet things over here in the gravel, so I'm assuming there's some sort of like mud wasp or something, hornet, in there in the rocks. So that's kind of what inspired these flags. I have a whole new collection of like kind of moth inspired, lunar moth fall flags, because honestly I'm just really thankful for them this season, because they're really the only pollinators that I saw, other than, like I said, the wasps and hornets here and there. So definitely gives me more appreciation for them, and we'll definitely have to make some more room in the yard next year for them, figure out what kind of plants we can give them, because maybe they just survive out here better. I don't know, but I'd love to get those towers next year situated with some more plants. That is something that the moths specifically like, as opposed to like we put the dill in for the swallowtails, or the milkweed for the monarchs. If we just don't have them out here, we'll put the herbs in, we'll put the milkweed in for them, but if we just don't have them, we don't have them. But the moths seem to be out here. I have to find the footage for you guys, but I have a clip of me watering this basket, like full on, just like right here. I have the hose, we're watering it, and like one of the big sphinx moths came over and was just like hanging out, and I was just like, I thought it was a hummingbird at first, but then I was like, wait a second, you're not a hummingbird. But I assumed not to, with pollinating all of my stuff for me. So we definitely need to make sure they have some food that they specifically really like. And for those of you who've been watching since we moved out here, you know that we're on the side of the house, the dome's here, and we thought, oh, this gets so much sun. We're going to put the big supports in from our green, from our earth boxes. We want the biggest supports because we're going to have the most greenery growing up here, and we barely even got halfway. I mean, this is just crazy. So we're definitely just going to need to get some more shade cloth. I feel like that's the name of the game for next year. All sorts of tomatoes. Truthfully, most of them were not producing enough for us to get any. Like, they fell off over here before we could even get them. These made our nice sun sugar ones. I don't think we've gotten a single one of these so far that we can eat, for just a variety of reasons. These have turned out okay. It's kind of weird though, because like you would think they're ready, but then you squeeze them and they're hard as a rock for the most part. So I've only really gotten a few of them. They were good. They're very like smoky. Oh, this one might be ready. Nope, I don't think it was ready. They're kind of like a smoky, earthy flavor. Like my husband said, they're earthy. I think they're smoky. Yeah, this one's not quite ready, but you can see here, it's kind of more green. And that's the thing. We're just having a hard time getting them, I don't know, ripened. They're in the sun. They've got plenty of water. They just, I don't know. Something went wrong. Ooh, I'm going to put this in the compost bin. Well, friends, I think this is pretty much concluding our season of growing here. The next update you're going to get is probably the tutorial on this. It's taking me a long time to edit because it was quite the process putting it together. But we'll be doing some updates on this tutorial, how we end up overwatering our trees, the roses, how we prep the compost, and of course we'll continue our worm updates. But yeah, we learned a lot this year. We definitely learned a lot this growing season. We learned a lot of what not to do. And we got some good roses out of it, so we really can't complain.